Is it?
Might be.
That's what I hear, Saturday
Oh,
night.
you've been
Got
off
in the Bahamas.
Where'd everybody go?
I'm trying to keep a low profile on that. Trying to keep a low profile.
Adam, you ready? I got the first question.
Yep, go for it. Go ahead.
When Amarian's having such a great game,
Yep.
great season, and those two things happen, I mean, what do you say to a kid?
Yeah, I think, we probably wouldn't be where we are without him. I think that's realistic. And, just like we all make mistakes, coaching, playing, it just happened to be, back-to-back situations or early in the game anyway. And, you just encourage him because he's done everything we've asked him to do. He's laid it on the line every week. And, unfortunately, those things happen sometimes. And if he'd had one in week 2 and one in week 8, but they just happen to be in the same area, and nobody's more disappointed he was. But at the same time, there's a lot of other ways we could have helped him out throughout the game. So I think for Omarion, just knowing him, he'll respond like I know he will. And he still had an unbelievable game. Just those turnovers there, and then we threw an interception too. So when you play a good team and you have 3 turnovers, it's going to be hard to win. And we understand that. And going in, we talked about that. Hey, we got to protect the ball. That's the number one thing. We've done a solid job of that most of the year, and we just didn't do it the other night and didn't get it done. And we got to regroup. We got to coach better. We got to play better, and do the things that it takes to win, which is protecting the ball, third downs. We weren't very good on third downs the other night. And when you play better people, it's going to be harder. We understand that. But, at the same time, we had some opportunities, and maybe there's some things we can do as coaches to help them too. Probably need to do a better job of that as well. But, we break it down every day on family. That's what we do in offense, and we all bought into that from day one. And, we're in this thing together. So one mistake by one guy is not gonna be something that we're gonna really, talk about a lot. We're ready to move on to the next one.
Were you able to have a direct line of communication with Omarion during the game, like on the phone, or is that strictly for Drake and Matt?
No, definitely can if I want to. I think Larry does a really good job communicating with the backs in between things that I want to say, because Larry's on with me directly, so I can say, hey man, just pat him on the butt, tell him to move on to the next play and so forth, because there's so many things involved in pass protection, changing the protection at the line of scrimmage, especially when you play a defense like we played and probably one this week as well, that we don't want him really his mind messed up thinking about something that happened. So I think Larry does a great job of calming those guys down. Larry's a veteran coach, and Omarion responded fine. He had the long touchdown run later too, and unfortunate things happened, but at the same time, I really am proud of him. He's had an unbelievable year so far, and need him again this weekend.
It's not often that running backs have the kind of runs against that defense that he did the other day, and he got outside and was able to outrun some of those athletes. Yeah. How many gears has his game gone up this season? How many more gears are there?
I think I told you early on in the fall, I was so impressed with him when I first got here and saw him just, physically, he's impressive. But then watching him run the football, he's got a unique combination, I think, of being able to run in between the tackles, but also long speed where he can score from anywhere. And he's displayed that several times. And, he broke a couple tackles in the box there and really had 2 long runs. And, I think that's what makes him special. He has that combination. He can run in between tackles and outrun people, and he's definitely a special player.
We're seeing more shiftiness from him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a fine line for running backs to learn how to utilize that shiftiness at the right time so it's to their advantage? Or kind of take us through that how that would be with a guy like him? We didn't see the shiftiness before.
I think that's a great point. Young running backs a lot of times come into college and they, in high school you're able to kind of, jump cut and maybe outrun some people. And this level you're not going to be able to do that as much. So you have to be really decisive, I think, when you make decisions. I think that's where he's probably improved the most, and his vision. Being able to understand, we're seeing a bare front this week. Okay, so here's your read key on inside zone. We're seeing an even front. This is your read key, and so forth. And being able to make those decisions and being really decisive. Sometimes you'll see young running backs, I think, they're indecisive, and therefore they end up stopping their feet. Momentum stops, and he's done a really nice job for the most part. And he still had a couple runs the other night that he'll tell you, if you talk to him, he'll say, that's a bad cut. I should have stayed where I was headed or whatever. But he's improved, and I think that comes with experience, with more carries. As a young player, I wasn't here with him, but that's a hard adjustment for young running backs, and it seems to me like he's adjusted pretty well, and hopefully it'll continue.
Chip, wanted to ask about the two-point conversion, which, of course, the way the game played out didn't necessarily have an impact on just how it played out.
Yep.
But Matt was talking about how that was pretty much like an analytics type of play, how in those situations the analytics favor going for two rather than kicking it. For you, how does something like analytics play into the way you kind of, call a game situationally?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are believers in analytics here. Coach Brown is, we've spent a lot of time in the offseason talking about those different scenarios, and on that particular instance, there's probably an argument for both ways. But you got to remember the analytics that we use also takes into account who we're playing. It's not just, oh, you're down this many, go for two, go for one. Analytics has gone to another level where it's based on the opponent you're playing and their stats, I guess, for the year and our stats for the year, and does it make sense to do it here or there? And there's probably always a little gray in that area. But I think what it does too is a play caller, for instance, we'll run the ball some on third downs because, hey, this is a go situation, or we'll run the ball maybe in a not an obvious run situation because we understand that we're going 4 down. So really third down now becomes second down. And so, when you look at sometimes our third down percentage, it's a little skewed sometimes because of the fact that we were going to go for it on fourth down anyway, so that's what's a little different for me. But the analytics, if you buy into it and do it, I think it's a really good guide for you. It takes a little bit of the indecision out of it because you're trusting that philosophy, and I think Coach does a really good job. He'll tell you way in advance, of hey, if we score here, we're going for 2, or we're not, or whatever. And that was what we did on Saturday night.
Chip,
What is the analytics you use? Sorry, Chip.
Shout it down again.
Yeah. Just to,
Go ahead.
Chip, go to Chip next. What is the analytics you guys use? I mean, like it's such a broad thing. The analytics, like
I don't know the name of the. It's basically a company that does it. Everybody in the country uses the same deal. But it's real specific based on your team and who your matchup is and so forth. It's not just one guy that sends out these, hey, you ought to do this.
I didn't know if you got like an analyst or something, like a GA or an analyst saying like.
Yeah. So we have guys that are they're each week they're putting that package together. And,
right.
And there's a quote book you go through. So it's pretty simple. And again, this started. I know when I was at Troy, we did it. Started probably gotten popular the last 5 or 6 years, probably I would say something like that. And you see more and more teams going to it, and the old traditional ways, hey, we're never going for 2 unless it's fourth quarter and all that. And sometimes those things aren't the same anymore. The game's shorter now with the clock situation. More people, the defense, the offenses are better. The offenses are different. There's a lot of new factors, I think, in this day and age of college football. And then I think there's people that don't use it as well. So some people don't. I think it's just a matter of preference. Go ahead, Chip.
I was just going to say, just looking at State's defense,
Yeah.
I mean, the 3-3-5 stack is something
Yeah.
you don't see every game.
Yeah.
What challenges does that
Yeah.
present, and what do they do well? that you
Well,
see?
first of all, Tony Gibson is probably one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. I've known him for a long time. He does an excellent job, and those guys, first of all, play extremely hard. If you flip the film on, you see that, and that means when a team plays really hard for you, I think that means they're bought into their coach and what they're doing and how they do it, and they do a great job of pressuring the offense, not just blitzes, but I mean just aggressive. That's what comes to mind with these guys. It is a kind of a unique structure compared to a lot of other defenses you face, which from an O-line standpoint now, it really kind of messes with who your combos are with and how we're going to get to certain spots and so forth. So it's a huge challenge, and it's not just about the scheme, but the players that have are good players too. We're all only as good as our players. We understand that, but it is a unique scheme. It's something that Tony's been doing a long time. He does a great job. He knows his answers. He knows where he might be vulnerable or where he might not be. He understands, and it's going to take a really good game for us. We're going to have to play extremely well and not turn the ball over and really take advantage of any opportunity we get in the red zone. And we say that every week. Sometimes it becomes repetitive, but in games where the talent's close, those things matter, and we got to do a great job this week of that.
On that scheme, you guys faced it against Syracuse earlier this year and had some success. Are there any things you can take away from that game to try to replicate, or is it, like you said, just different players make this scheme really more than the scheme makes
I don't
the
think they're similar, maybe how they line up, but their philosophy to me looks a little different. I don't see it being, like Syracuse, although probably more like them than anyone else we played. I would say that, but you know, that was so long ago, and it feels like, you know, and you know, there's some things you can probably take out of that. I think at the end of the day, the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator, when teams play, you're only good at what you're good at. You can't all of a sudden just reinvent an offense or a defense each week. So what can we take from what we think we can execute at a high level and do, and what can we bring to this game that fits what we're playing defensively? And I think that's what you do every week. That's what Mondays are about, starting over, starting fresh. That's why we're here all day and all night, is trying to figure out a good plan for our guys to be successful.
What was the conversation with Drake like yesterday?
That was great. He's a very, you know, typical Sunday. Watch the film. I told y'all before, he's very critical of himself if he places a throw here or there. And I think for us, we just, you know, as a unit too, when we met together, it goes back to we got off to a great start from the standpoint of moving the football. Statistically, you know, stats sometimes don't tell the whole story. The turnovers were huge. You know, and as the game played on, the penalties were huge and put us in some long yardage situations. But if you really look inside that, sometimes we were inconsistent running the ball early on first and second down, which left us in a lot of third and long situations. And we've been better at that all year. Not you know, putting ourselves in third medium is a lot different than third and long. And but Drake's great. He's got a great attitude. He's looking to rebound, and you know, I thought he played well the other night. There's some things I'm sure he would like to have back, like we all, but. Drake's great. He's very even keel. Got a great head on his shoulder.
He said after the game, he mentioned the coverage, Clemson's coverage being a huge issue. When you say stats don't always tell the whole story, 16 for 36, how much of that was just there were no seams? There was no place to place the ball.
I think there's some of that too. They're probably the best secondary we played so far. Those guys really do a great job of playing tight coverage. They make you throw the ball in smaller windows. They make you make contested catches. They challenge every throw. That's part of it. There's probably 4 or 5 Drake wish he'd have, you know, gone to this side or that side instead. Looking back, it's a combination. When you play good people, they can pressure you. They make the ball come out a little quicker. And when they can pressure you with 4 or 5 and make it hard, I think that makes you have to throw the ball in tight windows, and that's what we saw the other night. With that being said, we still had a lot of opportunities. You know, we had a couple drops here and there down the field. The turnovers we've talked about, the penalty on the 1 yard line. I mean, and in those big games like that against good opponents, those things are just magnetized and make it really hard.
Chip, would the old ball coach in you like to see Tez maybe complain a little less with the officials? I mean, I might be nitpicking there, but it seems like he's gotten into a little bit of a. I'm not trying to be overly critical, but it seems like, you know, if he doesn't come down with it, a lot of times he's looking for the flag.
You know, me and not being on the field, I don't feel that. Lonnie can handle all that, but you know, Tez is competitive like we all are. There's some things that I said to the officials they couldn't hear either because I was way upstairs. But no, I think he's competitive. He's fighting. You know, and that's the one thing about our guys. They fought. I mean, these guys they play hard. They did do everything we asked them to do. We got to coach better and get them a better opportunity to win big games like that. And we just didn't get it done the other night. But I got no problem with Tez. He's extremely competitive.
From what you've seen on Peyton Wilson, you know,
On who?
Peyton Wilson,
Yep.
linebacker.
Yep.
He's top 5
Yep.
in the country. What challenges could he present this week?
Wow, he's I mean, he's one of the better defenders in our league, I think. I mean, if you talk to offensive coordinators around the country, he's probably the first one that you jump out. He plays with a high motor, plays extremely hard, and he's disruptive. I think that's the thing that describes him the best. And Tony does a great job of putting him in position to be disruptive, but it looks to me like he's one of the most physical guys, and he tries to make something happen, and he's in that position in his defense, Tony's defense, where that's what his MO is, and that's what his assignment is, and he's very competitive. Our guys got a lot of respect for him. I think he's a local guy too, so I think, yeah, I'm very impressed with him. He's probably, you know, he's an NFL player for sure.
Their DB's pretty aggressive too.
Yeah.
My Clemson's being pretty aggressive.
Clemson, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
but NC State's are pretty heavy.
Yeah, both of them. I told you, I think 3 weeks ago, we're fixing to play 3 of the better defenses right here at the end, and that's been true. And yeah, Clemson, they're in your face, and these guys right here are the same thing. They're going to challenge you, and they play with their defensive coordinator's personality. He's that way, whether he's playing golf or whether he's playing, coaching ball, and you see that in his defense.
Where does that connection come from, Chip, with Gibson? Because he's like a West Virginia guy, right? Like,
Yeah.
where do you know him from?
West Virginia, yeah. When I was kind of getting into college football, I used to go visit those guys a lot. When I was in high school coach, and then over the years, just know a lot of people he knows, and just kind of became acquaintances, I guess.
Chip, do you think that seeing the talented Clemson defense from last week sets the guys up well to play another talented NC State defense?
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah, that's for sure. The last three, Duke as well. They're all three talented, and they're defensive. They're defensive-minded guy. I guess that Dabo's, an offensive guy, but those head coaches are defensive-minded guys, and like I said, they're three of the better defenses statistically if you look in our league, I think, and it's a huge challenge for us again, and we understand that, but it's one we're excited about. I mean, you play in these rivalry games. I mean, these are things, make memories forever, and hopefully we'll have some good ones on Saturday. Go ahead.
In that same vein, as far as playing extra defense, the environment at Clemson is pretty loud there. And all.
Yeah.
How did you think your guys handled that? And then Raleigh is going to be probably ramped up a little bit
Yeah.
more than that.
Yeah, no doubt. But I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere. I thought we handled it pretty good. Toward the end, felt like we were behind and trying to rally a little bit. I'm not sure we handled the noise or we lost our focus a little bit maybe. I think when you play in loud and noisy environments or just on the road in general, you really got to focus and lock in, because there's a lot of adjustments, subtle things that go on during the game from the quarterback or getting the signal from the sideline or things. And it's not that you can't do it, but you really got to be dialed into what's going on. And sometimes I think you can lose your focus, and that creates as much problem as anything. And so we played in a really good environment last weekend, and it'll be the same thing this weekend. And we got to handle that. That's part of us playing well, is we got to handle that deal. And I'm excited about it, and I think our guys are too.
All right.
All right.
Hey, Chip, we appreciate you this year.
Yep.
Always
Appreciate
a pleasure.
you. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Chip.
All right.